Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Convos with Sazón. Yours truly, Cata Mejía. With us today is La Cassandra. She is a Dominican artist based here in New York City. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, so excited to have you on here. Before we get into you as an artist and all of your music, which I'm very excited to talk about, let's talk about you as an individual first. As a Dominican American, talk about your upbringing and how that aspect of your identity has contributed, honestly, to the path that you've decided to take.
Well, I was born in New York, and all of my family from both sides are from Dominican Republic. And I'm the first generation here, so I grew up really close to all the traditions, the culture, the language in the household and with my family. And it was actually my first language, Spanish.
Yeah.
I look back at all my videos, and that's all I spoke. And the minute I got into school, I forgot all about it, and I had to relearn it again later on. But it's just always been a part of me. My family's very proud of where they're from. They never forgot that. And I guess it's just something that naturally fell into me, rolled over. And I don't know. I guess I'm a very emotional person, and I guess a lot of that gravitates towards my music. And it's just an outlet that really has helped me heal a lot of wounds and say what I want to say. And I come from a big family, so I feel with that, I've just always loved being around my family and sharing that love and spreading that love. And it's just so important for me to be able to always be present with them.
Absolutely. Family grounds us, especially in our culture where family is everything and more.
Yeah.
You started mentioning, you grew up with the Dominican traditions and in a very Dominican environment. What would you say is the sazón of your upbringing? The sights, the smells, anything that's characteristics that when you think about that time in your life, you're like, wow, I immediately think of my grandmother or this specific song or anything along those lines?
So there's this dessert that we make. I don't know if any other country makes it, but I know we're big on it. It's habichuela con dulce.
Oh.
And we typically do, it's like sweet beans, but not like your typical barbecue sweet beans. It's more with carnation milk. It's like a real dessert. And it only happens, you really only do it once a year during Easter time, Passover and all that. So I just remember, when you have to do the beans, there's a smell to it. And I just remember it being like, oh, why is this smell? But then once they start adding all the sweetness and everything, and then just having it is such a mark to my childhood. And my grandmother always made it. It was her favorite thing to make, and my mom makes it. And I think that's one of the things that really brings back those memories. But also I think for me it's obviously music, 100%.
Yeah. Who or what were your biggest influences growing up, whether that's personal, cultural, a person, anything along those lines that when you look back also on your childhood, you're like, wow, I don't know what it would have been like without them as present as they were?
Oh wow. I'd have to say my aunt, my one aunt that raised me from since I was 13 years old and until I went to college. And my parents were going through a divorce at that time, and it was just really rocky at home, and things were just, a lot of stuff was, moving pieces were happening, and I just fell into this really unhappiness time. And not to get into too much detail, but I went to go live with my aunt, and it was, I think I got to really understand what true and unconditional love is, because she's married to my uncle, and seeing that dynamic, and just the things that she taught me. My mom did so well, the best she could as a single mom with 5 kids.
Wow.
But I feel like my aunt literally was that other piece of the puzzle that completed who I am today.
That's beautiful. Speaking of who you are today, as we started talking, you are Dominican American. These are 2 central identities that you have. Talk about what it's been like throughout your entire life, balancing those 2 sides of you, and maybe how that contributes to the type of music and the mixture that you also incorporate.
It's just very natural. I think we're called 200%ers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all I ever knew. So when I would go to Dominican Republic, it would be like a shock to me, which is kind of like sad seeing it because thinking about it because I didn't really grow up there or went there as often. I was more here in the States. And so for me, it was just natural at home. Se hablaba en español. Y en la escuela was all English. All my friends, we spoke English. But then with my primas and my tías and tíos and parents, it was Spanish. And there was times where the two worlds really did blend, and it definitely came down to when it was music or when I would invite my friends over and they would see like the dynamics in my house and they'd be so impressed and so, wow, I love it. Or they would fall in love with the food and they'd be like, can your mama make that pollo guisado again? So it was just very natural. And I think, like I said, it comes down to how my family was. They were just very orgulloso de ser Latino, just who they were. And they just embraced the American culture as well. And they never like told us to be any other type of way. And so we just followed by example.
Yeah, you mentioned as well that music has been a central aspect of all of your upbringing, of your life, honestly. Can you pinpoint a moment in which you said, me quiero dedicar a la música, like this is the path that I want to pursue, beyond just enjoying as a listener, but like truly going to the other side of things and songwriting and becoming a creative in the space?
So yo cantaba de que era niña. Like that was something I just always did. There was videos of me of like 3 years old singing, and when people would come over, that's what I would love to do, is ponerle un show, un concierto. So that was always natural, and my mom would always say, hey, ella va a ser cantante, ella va a ser cantante. And I guess like the older I got, the more it was my expression, like my way to express myself. And I guess I didn't really start taking it super serious until I really wanted to make, there was nothing else I felt like made me happy. I tried different things and it just never, like, my mind was always in music. And when I decided to fully pursue it and fully create my album and really like songwrite, because to me that was very important. I wanted to make my own music. I wanted to write it and tell my story. And I was very afraid at first. I didn't think I could do it. But I started to see the purpose I have and everything that I had inside. And now it's just so essential in my life to write. So it's just beautiful to see the storyline.
The progression, of course. What did you try before music? Like you just mentioned, I tried a couple of things. They never really stuck. What did you try?
So when I went to college, I left early. I didn't even finish. After 2 years, I left, and I just started working as an audit assistant because I left early because I was like, this is not for me. There's nothing I want to do. I think I changed over so many of my majors in like the 2 years. I went from like journalism to psychology. Then I landed in business administration. And I was like, well, at least this is like safe. And I got my associates and I dipped and I went and I was like, okay, I'm going to just get like a job so I can pay for my music. And I was an audit assistant and I paid for my music. I was gigging. I started to get a little band together and we're gigging all throughout like Washington Heights, Bronx, Manhattan. And it just got to a point where the music was taking over my day job. And that was the goal, right? That was the dream. That's something I prayed about so much for. And when that time came, I saved up all I could, and then I just went full-time music.
That's awesome. Yeah. Not many people talk about how long it takes for the music to take over. It's something that many dream about, but from an outside perspective looking in, you only really see when an artist makes it, but you don't really get to see the random gigs or like the starting out small and like slowly kind of growing. Talk about that progress.
So performing live is essential it's crucial, it's critical for an artist. I feel like that's where you cook who you are. You add the seasoning. When you're on that stage, you figure out your sound, your little quirks, your this and that. There were so many things. I remember vividly, I had the biggest stage fright in high school. Girl, my leg would shake.
Look at
so
you now.
Bad. I remember I did my first challenge show and my leg, that's when I realized, I was like, what? My body can do that? Like on stage and my one leg was shaking so bad. And it was such a stage fright, but I was like, this is what I feel like I'm meant to do. This is what I love. Why is there such a contradicting force stopping it. And I just feel like when there's something so big for you, I'm a big believer in faith and everything. Like, I just feel like the enemy or the force or whatever is going to like prevent you from getting there. And I just felt like fear is going to prevent you from getting there. And I had such a fear to get on stage that I just literally, I'm just this type of person. I just head on tackled it. And I started doing open mics while I was in college, and then it just transitioned into singing into wedding bands. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I faked it till I made it. I was like, yes, I'm a singer. I've performed this and that, started performing in the wedding bands, and then I realized this is not for me because I don't want to just do covers. I want to have my own band. I want to do what I want to do on stage. I want to have the freedom. So I quit that, and then I just started taking on like the little local restaurant gigs, and that's where I really developed who I was. And I wasn't making any money. You don't really make any money at all there, but it's the experience, the exposure.
Yes.
I started to build a little community. It started to grow. I remember vividly one day I was like, I just want to move more around stage. I want to be more of a personality. And I just remember like just moving my arms a little more and doing things. And in my head, I was like, oh God, I feel so cringe. I feel so stupid. But it became a thing, and people started associating me with it, and I just loved it. And I just started to just break free from the fear and the mental, like, what is it? Yeah. And I just really started to create my sound, and then little by little started meeting more musicians and started doing like little shows and started selling little ticketed shows. And then I went to record the album, and it really is step by step. It's like brick by brick.
100%. So let's talk about your first album, Lágrimas. You debuted it back in 2023, so 2 years ago, which is wild. Talk about that process. What was it about? What about that project was like, I am finally ready to put the songs that I've written, the story that I want to put out there in front of people, which can be a vulnerable place, right? Especially when it's something so close to your heart. It's basically your baby that you're just kind of like, okay, hopefully people like it, you know? Talk about that.
So it's kind of funny because Lágrimas was innocent bliss. I just wanted to, like, for me, just having my first project out was all I wanted. And I guess I never really thought of the judgment, or I knew what I was doing was so different because it was really tropical music. It was very centered in the timeless sounds that we grew up with a refreshing take, a modern take on it. But I knew that I was putting something out there that wasn't popular, or more what was relevant in that time, I guess you can say. But I just knew that this is what my heart wanted to do. So if there was one project I wanted to do, it's like this one that it's like it was like an introduction to who I am. So we actually, as soon as I quit my day job, we left to Havana to record it because my producer and musical director, he's Cuban. So we actually recorded it in the Egrem Studios, like one of the studios where Celia Cruz had recorded too.
Wow, that's so special.
Yeah, it was magical. Oh my gosh, I can't even explain like just the magic that you feel when you're there. And we recorded it, and then 6 months later, COVID hit. So it was actually a blessing in disguise because for me, I wanted to run through walls and just put it out right away. But I was still it was so young and fresh, the project, and we didn't know what we were doing. It was both of our first albums, mine and my producer's. He's like a brother to me. And just spent like the next year really, really just like mastering it and redefining things and re-editing things, and until we were completely happy with it. And then we just started to release a few singles, and then the album followed by.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're talking about the aspect of, okay, you recorded the project, but it does take work after the fact, you know, and tweaks. Alongside those tweaks to the music, would you say that similarly to when you were performing different types of gigs to get to that point, you were also tweaking and finding your artistic style and like your story, right, of how you were going to present yourself to the world beyond just la artista, but like, okay, who are you as an artist? Yes, through your music, but as an individual.
Yeah, because one thing about making a song is you also have to cook the song too. like hay que cocinarlo, ponerle sazón. And in order to really do that is you want to go back and perform it live and get like the audience's reactions or think of new things. Not to say like you do it so often, but just a couple times if you're able to, and you just keep like cooking it. But also there's sometimes songs that there's just a magic to it that you don't want to take away or think too much about it, because then you just start to chip at the magic that it has, right? So with that, I would have to say like my producer, that was more of like his job was to that was more of like his forte, was to hone in on the production and the essence. And I added a lot of like my 2 cents and this and that. But yeah, I think it's exactly what you said. It's like going back and reworking it, just like the live performances too.
Yeah. How would you describe your artistic style?
I would say it's very timeless. It's dynamic and it's full of passion, and it's I think it's a really fresh modern take on the classics.
Okay, for those not familiar with your music, what type of sounds, what type of genres do you incorporate?
I incorporate a lot of the Caribbean sounds where I'm rooted, so it's a lot of the merengues, the bachatas, boleros. The past album we just released, we
Gloria
did
and Dolores.
Sí. We dabbled on some Mexican rhythms, and I loved it. I loved it because it was such a homage to the Mexican culture that I admire so much, and also my grandmothers admired too. So
I've been meaning to ask you this because I know that they were based on your grandmothers. Are those their 2 names?
yes.
Okay.
Gloria y Dolores.
Beautiful. Maybe talk about their role in your life. You know, why was it so important for you that your second project be dedicated to them?
My grandmothers were essentially like an extended mother to me. I feel like in areas where like my personal home fell short, my outside family and all that, they came in stronger, and that was so beautiful. Like looking back now, me, my siblings, and my grandmothers really, really stepped in and were really a part of our lives. They made sure. And it's kind of funny because in a way their names really reflect who they are. Gloria, she was from my mom's side, and she was very alegre, very cheerful. She didn't like to wear black at all. And anytime anyone would wear black, she'd be like, "Ay no, ese color es tan triste, ponte blanco." And then Dolores, she was my sweetie pie. She was the sweetest, most tender grandma ever, but she was also in a way I'm very much like her in a way where very emotional, cry about everything.
You feel deeply.
Yes. And she actually liked to wear black a lot, so it was kind of funny. And that's just how their dynamics were, and I think it was just beautiful that it portrays also the meaning, kind of in a way, the meanings of their names. And then naming the album, it was soon after their passings, and without even thinking of it, after developing the album and doing the track list and everything, it like dawned on me, and I can't even believe it took me that long to realize it, but I realized, oh my gosh, this is a duality of life too, everything I've been through, the glorious and the painful moments. So it was just like a dual moment.
That's beautiful. It's my understanding that it was your first time touring.
Yes.
So talk about that. What was your expectation for the tour versus what it ended up to be? I know that fashion was a huge component. Before you went on tour, you sent out a dress code, and your fans not only showed up, they showed out. And flowers were a huge component of it. And a nod to your tropical and Caribbean roots were also the bright colors. So tell me more.
So the tour was so special. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it was going to be, just a smaller base tour, but a way to finally step out and see the faces of the people that have been supporting me for so long, the beautiful reinas and chulas and chulos. And, my fans just know, they just understand the assignment. They know when it's time to go out and come to one of my shows. es hora de ponerse bella, de linda, you know? The dress code was just a cute way to really solidify that and get people excited, because I know that's how I am. But I knew that I loved flowers, and I made it a big thing, and I always made sure it's a symbol that I love to always put out, and every lately it's been every project I do. I didn't realize how much the impact it had until I started going to the shows and the tour. I'm like, wow, they understood the assignment, they get it. And it's to the point now where if I go somewhere and I don't have a flower and there's a fan, or there's even someone that, you know, just knows my music from the industry, they're like, no, what's going on? And they'll literally go and find a flower if it's in the event or something and put it on me. So it's really cute, and it's just like a cute thing, and it was really beautiful to see. Like I really got me so emotional. I think going out to LA, you know, going out all across the country, and then seeing how much my music has impacted these women, these young girls. There was girls with their moms there, girls with their grandmas there. It was just a really beautiful moment.
Yeah, I think that is one of the many powers that music has. You know, it's, first of all, you don't even need to speak the language to feel the rhythm, number one. Number two, it can be intergenerational, because usually when people talk about their life stories, you're not the only one who's lived through that, you know, but it creates a sense of community. And I think, speaking to how special touring is, you know, I have never toured. I'm not an artist myself, but I can only imagine, and I can appreciate from a spectator's perspective, that tours are really the only time that you have to connect in person with the artist that you've been following, right? And so maybe people have attended your tour that they're not based in New York. You know, they're not even familiar with the city. The most that they know about you is whatever you put on social media. But a show takes away the screen, takes away that kind of third party, and it's like you and them. Talk about that artist-fan relationship. Every artist talks about, you know, my fans are the best. So what makes your fans the best?
They really are the best. I know it sounds cliche, but it's just, I feel like they're a reflection of who I am. It's crazy. It's these beautiful young girls, young women in general, that are soft. They're delicate, they're feminine, but you can tell they have a story and they're strong. They've been through some stuff, you know? The amount of stories, we did like a meet and greet after every show. I signed and took photos with the girlies, and the amount of stories that they were telling me, I'm just like blown away. And it's so beautiful to see how open they are. And I think it's just like a reflection of my music, of how vulnerable it is, how honest it is, and how inspiring with hope, the hope that it carries inside. Yeah, I think it was definitely a moment where it really impacted me, because it's like you said, in social media, you don't really, okay, you can see a little bit of the what's it called, the, not outreach, the
Engagement?
Yeah, engagement you've had, but it's nothing like feeling it in person and seeing it in person, because, you know, life isn't living behind a screen. And so stepping out of that bubble and seeing it in real life and connecting with them is just like a whole other level.
Yeah. What does it take to prepare for a tour? Obviously, you know, many people think, oh my gosh, it's the writing the music that's the hardest. I'm sure it's a heavy lift, obviously. If you didn't have music to showcase, there would be no tour, right? But walk us through that process of, okay, in this case, Gloria en Dolores was your most recent album. From start to finish of writing the songs, curating an album, and then selecting the cities to go to and the theme for the tour. Talk about everything that makes up that process.
So actually, I think for me, the creation process is the funnest. It's the part that I can't wait to do again, because it's the part where I don't like to put any pressure in my music. I don't like to do any comparison. I don't like to like when I'm in that creation process, I don't listen to anything else. I can't. And I'm just listening to what I'm making, what I've made in the past, and that's pretty much what I do. And so that moment, of creating the demo, creating the blueprint is my most favorite because I'm like pulling another layer of myself. I'm healing myself at the same time. I'm talking about things that I didn't want to say, but I'd rather say it in a song. And like, for example, I don't know if I should say this here. But
Say it. This is a safe space.
So my sister went through some crazy situation, and it's so crazy that it's a crazy situation with some guy, and it's so crazy that I literally just wrote the song for her. I was like, look, this is how I felt when you were going through it. And I kind of wrote it like if I was in your shoes, and I showed her it, and she was like, what the heck? This is exactly, and I'm like, yeah. So I think the more I write, the more I'm finding myself it just becomes like easier and funner. And I know that's not the case for everyone, but I really do believe that this is like my purpose. And I'm like, even to the point where it's like, I want to write for other people now. And hasn't been something that really crossed my mind. But okay, to get back to what you were saying. So from the creation process, I think the hardest part, honestly, is like, for me, it's the recording is also fun. It's a lot of fun. Putting the track list together, it's a little stressful, but
what aspect is stressful?
Because you want to make sure you give the right message. You want to make sure the listener, I like to send them into a different world. I like to make them feel like feel part of a novela, right?
Yeah, like transported.
Yeah, to transport them. And so I just want to make sure like every transition, if you go from like a low song, make sure the next one takes you to that other spot, whether it be a high song, like a high energy song, you know, just like that whole transition throughout the album. So for me, it's a little like harder, but then that's where the team steps in, and you know, you dabble with people like, what do you think about this? What do you think? So it's cute to have the team, and you really bond over all that creation process. I think for me, the most stressful part, because I am an independent artist, is the marketing and the rollout. Girl, that is so headbanger every single time. And then like the touring and all that was also very stressful. It's a lot of work.
And logistics, I can only imagine.
Hats off to every artist that has gone on tour, and especially these worldwide tours. And it takes, I don't even think it takes a village. I think it takes like a whole community, a whole city and a half. It's so much work, but it's beautiful. It's a lot of work. It's tiring, and it is also so much fun.
What aspect, maybe of the touring aspect or the touring portion of this whole process, would people be surprised to know? Like, what is now your bread and butter because you've been through it, that if you shared, people would be like, wow, I've never thought about that? Or as an independent artist, how does that drastically impact your experience compared to someone who is signed to a label or who has a dedicated agent who is kind of marketing them out? What have you learned about that?
As an independent artist, everything is 10 times harder. So what could probably take a major label artist nothing to get, or right away to get, or just a phone call away, it probably would take us a lot more obstacles, like emails and networking and reaching out, and I don't know, more like there's just a longer bridge to walk across. But at the same time, I've come to realize it has built so much character in who I am, just more of that fight to not give up, and just really, you know, what do they say? A lot of perseverance, because I feel like, you know, I'm trying to get that saying where it's like, the fire can burn out so easily if there's not a lot of passion and perseverance behind it. And you really get to see that when it's you in the nitty gritty. And no one's going to fight as hard as you. No one's going to believe as hard as you believe. So if you don't believe hard enough, the other people around you aren't going to believe as hard enough either. And so these are the things in front of you, and you really, really have to fight for it.
Yeah, I can only imagine. You mentioned the importance of having a team behind you, right? And in your case, as an independent artist, it's even more important to vet these people, right? And to make sure that they believe just as deeply as you do. what has been that trade-off of, okay, I'm choosing to stay independent at the maybe at the benefit of having more control, more of a say of the creative process of every aspect, and how has that contributed to how you've selected your team?
Well, it has really impacted who I have as my team because I work with them so closely with everything. And it's like my team is really small, but they're basically like all my right hands for whatever situation we're in, like for the, I guess, the operations and management side and the production side and the recording side. So thankfully, like I have been blessed to have these people. But it's been like a lot of recently it's been a lot of trial and error, and I kind of just go with my gut feeling and knowing how this person is and things like that.
To expand on what you started to say, what is it that you look for in your team?
I look for honesty and hardworking, and I think a lot of mainly like loyalty to me is so big because if I bring you on, I'm immediately going to be loyal to you, and I'm going to give you my trust. I think trust for me is really hard because I don't give it so easily. I always kind of have my wall up. So the people that I have around me, I love hard. And so I give you my trust and I give you my love and I give you like
it's a two-way street for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just that type of person where I love to see the people around me also flourish in the areas that they're in. So for me, that is also beautiful, is like sharing that love and having like como que una familia within our team. And that's just been something I've been really I've really been close knit with and tight with. And for me, honestly, like having the team I have, it's pretty much just been off of my gut feeling. If I don't like a vibe or I feel something when I initially meet someone or something, not to say that they might not be a bad person, it just might not be the right fit for me. And that has proven me time and time again, like correctly. So I always say like trust your gut. And it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the more
it develops.
And it works for you.
You mentioned earlier that your experience with music has healed many aspects of you and your life. And I think that many can agree that music is therapeutic. It speaks to what you feel. It speaks to what you haven't spoken about individually, So talk about those aspects that have healed and having to be vulnerable in order for others to also relate to what it is that you're saying because they too have lived it to a certain extent.
So I think I would talk about my song Aunque no estás because that one I feel has really impacted a lot of people. And Aunque no estás was just a very honest song about a breakup and just feeling like, well, I had all these dreams and like hopes of this relationship. Well, you're not here, but I still keep thinking of what could have been, like what was. And I think it's kind of like a somber, lingering thought a lot of people have post-breakup, and maybe that's why so many have connected to it. It's also very honest. I think one of the most honest songs I have written to date, from a personal perspective, has been By Your Side. And that one, I didn't realize I still had a wound to heal until I wrote it. And I remember vividly, it was like 12 a.m. and we were in the writing camp for Gloria Dolores. And I wrote it in like 15 minutes. It was crazy. And it was in English. I wasn't expecting to write an English song. It just came out so naturally, and it healed that 12-year-old girl in me. And it was really beautiful to see. And I didn't realize because the album had only been out for a couple months, but I didn't realize how much of an impact it had until I went on tour and I saw the whole room singing it and crying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this impacted you too. It's so beautiful.
You were talking about the selection of the track list earlier, right? And how that's one of the many aspects that you enjoy and making sure that you balance the rhythms. But what about the storyline that you're trying to tell? For example, I think of Carol G when she released Mañana Será Bonito, right? And then the kind of like the second part, Bichota edition, she later talked about, listen to it in this order because it's not the order that it's listed. However, it's the order that I lived it in, or it gives you another experience. Is there something similar when it comes to either or both of your albums?
Yeah, so for both albums, sonically, right? I always get that word wrong. We wanted it to reflect the story from top to bottom, so you can just push play and listen to it throughout. With Gloria Dolores, we really played more with it. We have like the intro, so bringing it back to how I started my musical career, performing in these smaller bars. That was the vibe we wanted to give. So when you push play on the first song, it's like I'm walking into a smaller, intimate room, and I'm opening up the night. And so that transitions into the whole rest of the album, and there's like an interlude. So we go from like, I would say, the more 200% side of me, and it transitions into like the more Dominican side, the album. And the interlude, we featured like real waves from Dominican Republic, and it's beautiful, and it goes right into like the merengues. So for me, for these past two projects, it has been from top to bottom. That's the storyline.
Okay, beautiful. Maybe that'll change.
Maybe.
How do you balance staying authentic to the style that you've developed up until now and the stories that you want to continue to tell while still experimenting with new sounds?
Oh, that's a good question, because I'm actually dabbling into opening up more my sound. But I think it's just the essence of who I am. I'm very proud to be Caribbean. I'm very proud to be Latina. And these rhythms that shaped me, I really believe strongly in them. I do believe that there is a space for boleros. I do believe that there is a space for, bachatas and merengues. And I think it's just like defending that, and at the same time playing with other things and dabbling with it, because I feel like at the end of the day, you're not hurting those genres or the things that I stand for. I'm in my mind, I feel like I'm just going to benefit it more, uplift it more, or put it in other audiences that typically wouldn't listen to it, because we're creating a fusion and we're opening it up more. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I love that. And it's constant reinvention or evolution, right? I'm sure you could agree. When it comes to when you feel the most connected to the music, is it at the studio stage? Is it on stage? Or when you hear about people's stories, what of things that they've experienced when they've kind of listened to what you've put out there, or a little bit of everything? Speak to your experience.
It's definitely a little bit of everything. For me, I feel like there's a saying like, la música siempre es viva, siempre está viva. So for that, it's like, I'll put one good example. Aunque no estás, again, when I wrote it was about the breakup. But then I think it was like a couple months, 6 months after I produced it, my grandmother passed away. And it took a whole new meaning. And it was like, aunque no estás, my grandmother's not here anymore. So I related it to that, like all the things that could have been if you were still here. And so I don't think I really understood that saying until it happened personally to me. And I think that's just the beauty of music.
You have mentioned there's been kind of like a common thread between our conversation today, which is the marriage between being feminine and tying that to your Caribbean roots. How would you say that continues to be at the forefront, not only in the sounds, but in the messages that you portray, in a time, oh my gosh, what better time than now, to uplift Latina voices and Latina stories and our identity and be so, so proud, regardless of the outside noise. How would you say you hope that your music contributes to that sense of pride?
Well, I think, like I said, my music is very honest. It's just a reflection of who I am. and I was raised by strong women, very Latina strong women, and I'm also a Cancer, so I'm very emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of like reflects in the music I write and I put out, and I hope to still continue to always
Mm-hmm.
be able to portray that and stand with that, because it's just like an essence of who I am. I wouldn't be honest in the music I make if I was to completely flip it, unless I completely flip myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I might do like Riri and become a bad girl.
I love that. I love that. We're going to do some rapid fires, okay? So, first is a song that always lifts your mood, either one of your own or one by another artist.
Oh my god, it's a rapid fire song that lifts my mood. I love Costumbres by Rocío Dúrcal.
Okay. What about a dream collaboration of yours?
Okay, so a dream, like, they're alive or they dead?
Either one.
Okay, honestly, I wish she would come out of her cave, woman. Sade.
Okay, okay. The most Dominican thing about you?
I cook with like a thing on my head when I'm making Dominican food.
Okay.
And so this sazón and sofrito won't hit the hair.
Listen,
you know what I'm
trust
talking about?
me. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. It's the same
Listen.
as like you stand next to a food truck and you're like, ugh, ahora vuelvo a humo. Okay, beautiful. What is your go-to comfort food after a long day in the studio or after you've wrapped up a tour show?
I love pollo. Like,
Okay.
I love pollo. And if it's like rotisserie chicken, like the Peruvian style, oh my God, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like every time I come back from a trip or I've been away from home for a while, it is like costumbre ahora to go to Pio Pio and have like the chicken with the green sauce and the salad.
Oh, yeah.
That to me just makes me so happy.
I love it. What is one word that would describe this chapter of your life?
Oh my gosh. I would say divine.
Ooh, tell me more.
I think it's just a divine time. Like, I got married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're about to hit a year already, so I can't even believe it. And this album that I just put out, Gloria Dolores, is so special to me.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of this album, and I'm entering now the third phase of my musical career. We're gonna start creating and collabing,
Yeah.
and so I'm just really, really happy, and I feel really blessed. So I feel like this is a divine time, and I'm really aware of it.
Beautiful. What is one thing that you want your fans or new listeners of your music to feel, whether it's after they've seen you live or after they've come across you on Spotify or on social media and then extends to listening to your music?
Just to be proud of who they are, of where they're from, pride, and just como que free and energetic, and como que viviendo la vida, and just going after what you really want in life. Alegría, you know, and just amor, mucho amor.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Last rapid fire question. Who is an artist that you deeply admire?
An artist that I deeply admire, Juan Gabriel.
Yeah, what about him?
Oh my gosh, I'm watching the documentary now. I just got off the first series, but I loved him forever. So my grandmothers were obsessed with him growing up, and there's this one concert he did that literally marked my like performance career. I wanted to start trying things and be dramatic like that. It was the concert I think he had in the 80s, and he was wearing like a sparkly black and gold outfit, but he was with the whole orchestra behind him, and it was just, oh, you can look it up on YouTube. It's, oh my gosh, it's mesmerizing. And he was an insane songwriter, just everything, just oozing lyrics all the time, and his music. And I didn't realize until recently, because I watched the first episode, how simple his words were. It didn't like click to me until they, made it aware in the series. And it's something about me, like my lyrics are also very simple. Naturally, because my vocabulary in Spanish isn't as broad, you know, because I had to relearn Spanish. And so it's just beautiful to see such an iconic legend creating music that was just so beautiful, so pure, you know?
Yeah.
So I love him.
Beautiful.
I wish he was alive so I can make a song with him.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, that's a tough one, but
Yeah.
but maybe in another lifetime.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on something that you just mentioned, and you mentioned it earlier, of Spanish was your first language, then you had to relearn it. Talk about that aspect of your journey. What about you wanted to kind of go back to your roots in that way, enough to want to incorporate it into your music at such a forefront?
Yeah, so it was so crazy because I knew I always wanted to do music. I just didn't realize it was going to be all Spanish. Like, it would have never crossed my mind if that was what I was going to choose. And I did choose it. So thankfully, I feel like I made the right choice for now. But because I wanted to sing more in Spanish, I wanted to just learn more. I started watching novelas, watching movies, and I'd put the subtitle. And Google helped me so much. Like, whenever I wanted to write emails, I just translate it and like look at the words and just kind of soak and absorb everything in. And also, like, reading was another way that really helped me. I get like poetry books in Spanish, but you know, like the easy Spanish, because sometimes they be crazy. And that's just like another way that really helps me. I always spoke it, even though it was a little broken. It was definitely more broken in high school, but I think I wanted to gain that. I personally wanted to gain that confidence, and it was just like I said, like when there's something that like I feel resistance with, I just tackle it head on. I'm kind of that person.
Okay, no, I love that. I think it is so important to have kind of that superpower, right?
Yeah.
Because what to others can be scary, it can still be scary to you, but you embrace it, and I think that's so important. I cannot let you go without gracing our viewers and listeners with your voice. So if you are open to it, sing any song that speaks to you beyond just the creation process. Maybe one that you struggled with, maybe one that you're particularly proud of, or one that might surprise people about the story behind it. The mic is yours.
Okay. So that's a good one. This one, I'd have to say, this one was really personal because it talked about just like a real situation or of who I am. I've always like in relationships, I've been very hard to like open my heart to. I'm like, I love to give love and, you know, just a loving person, pero en las relaciones, I've always just been very like walls up all the time.
Okay.
So when I was in this relationship, well, I'm in this relationship now. He is now my husband.
Okay. He has graduated.
It was very hard. So this is a very honest song of how I was able to share my feelings. And I guess putting it on paper for me was very special and sweet.
Okay,
so
what's
it's
it called?
Te Pido.
Okay.
Okay. Hoy confieso, no ha sido fácil abrir mi corazón si se ha quedado quebrado. Tú notas que he reservado mi cariño por temor a un desengaño. Te pido, por favor, tener paciencia. Te pido, amor, nunca me alejes. Ten fe que algún día pueda amarte como yo sé. Tú te lo mereces.
Wow. I already knew you had an incredible voice, but I hope that others can see the range and also the honesty with which you sing. Because for those who don't speak Spanish, you know, you talk about, you know, give me patience. I'm not there yet, but I could get there. and I know what it takes to love you how you deserve. Just like, give me some time. Just give me some time. And I think we can all relate one way or another. You know, we've been, I'm sure, in relationships, difficult. You know, when you build a relationship, it's not always easy, and it's the ones that are worth it that are actually the hardest sometimes. Because you have to work for it. Because the healthy relationships make you face things that you're not ready to face,
and you fight back, and you want to run away. You're like, this is too healthy. Hold on.
And that's part of the healing process too, you know. And what I have been told from people in successful relationships and in healthy relationships is, it's not about the perfect relationship, it's about the one worth fighting for.
I love
and
that.
Maybe you can relate to that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that. I hope that, I'm sure everybody enjoyed that, and more of that on Spotify and all of the music distribution platforms. And I know that the holidays are also around the corner, and what a better gift, you know, than your album. But yes, thank you again. This was beautiful.
Thank you, my love.
To close us out, I want to hear about the future. What exclusives or inside scoop can you give us? What is currently lighting up your creativity, or something that's coming down the pipeline?
Well, I'm creating a new project, and it's a little different than what I've done before. And I'm really, really excited for this because it's really challenging me as an artist, and it's really making me think like outside the box. And I love that because I want to push my norm. Like, I want to push those boundaries. And I guess that's all I can say.
Can you say what about it is different? Is it the format? Is it the topic? Is it with other people? Maybe all of the above?
It's definitely the format.
Okay.
For sure the format, and for sure the people. I've always been solo, so now.
Okay, that's exciting. When can we potentially hear more?
2026, early 2026.
Okay, perfect.
We're putting in work.
We are tuned as of now. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being so honest in sharing your journey, and also in sharing your life through your music. I personally have loved following along your journey and can relate to many of the things that you sing about. And I'm excited to see you continue to grow and continue to see what else that you do. Tienes todo mi apoyo. Consider this your home in any way that I can continue to support, or in ways that we can collaborate. Cuentas conmigo.
Gracias, amor.
Claro que sí. Gracias a ti. Thank you all for listening and watching. Until next time.